Hey everyone, it is Dani'i and welcome to this update video. I trust and hope you're doing great, and we're going to be taking a look at the latest for Tammy. So Tropical Storm Tammy is out there. As we know, it's a threat to portions of the Lesser Antilles and more watches have been issued. So we'll be taking a look at that. Additionally, over in the Eastern Pacific, there is now major Hurricane Norma. So just as I actually mentioned in an update yesterday, that these systems in the Eastern Pacific, they'll tend to intensify a lot sooner than expected. That is exactly what has happened with Norma, because it wasn't expected to become a major hurricane until this afternoon, and it is a major hurricane this morning, even a bit stronger than expected. So we'll be looking at that as well. Hurricane watch is in effect for some areas, and so let's get straight into it, kickstarting things with the Caribbean. So here we are taking a look at the basin, and we can see that there is some activity for some areas going up into the vicinity of the Bahamas and even near eastern Cuba. We're seeing some thunderstorms there. Those white dots indicate lightning strikes, and even for portions of southern Haiti as well. Still some messy activity over in the Northwest Caribbean with that stationary front in the area. There could even still be some periods of very heavy rainfall across some areas. We'll look at that rainfall forecast from Euro in a moment. As we head to the Southwest Caribbean, offshore of Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, there we can see that there's quite a bit of activity there, even going down into Colombia as well, and some spots in Venezuela. As we head over into the Eastern Islands, ABC Islands, unfortunately, nothing much happening, nothing much expected today either. Going to Trinidad, Tobago, through most of the Lesser Antilles right now, there isn't much. However, there could be some periods of very heavy rainfall for the Northeastern Islands ahead of Tammy. So again, looking at the rainfall forecast in a moment. As we head on to the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico, maybe a passing shower or so this morning, but nothing too crazy for the area. A lot of overcast conditions for other areas, such as other spots in Central America, the rest of Cuba, Jamaica, and even the Cayman Islands as well. And cooler temperatures still over in sections of the Yucatan and Cuba as well, even up to the Bahamas and Florida behind that frontal boundary. So all that cool air has made its way into the Caribbean, and where that cool and warm air mass meet is where that front is located. So that is what is going on. We'll see a lot more of that as we head into the next couple of months. And so now let's go ahead and take a look at that rainfall forecast. So here we are. This is as we head throughout the majority of today. So the more colorful this map becomes, the more those shades of oranges, reds, even those burgundies, purples that we see, a lot more rainfall likely across those areas. So across sections of the Bahamas, going to Cuba, the Cayman Islands, and in Central America through portions of Honduras. Let's not forget the Bay Islands either. That rainfall activity is likely to continue. There has been some heavy rainfall. There has been some flooding. Unfortunately, there could be some additional flooding due to the expected rainfall. And then going through Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama, again, same story. We could see some periods of heavy rainfall. There could be some flooding within these areas. Similar story as we head to sections of Colombia and some spots in Venezuela. The Guyanas might experience some rainfall today. That won't be the case for everyone, but some areas might experience some rainfall activity. And then headed to the ABC Islands, as I said, much is not expected today. For Trinidad, Tobago, there could be some showers and thunderstorms popping up, especially as we head to this afternoon through Grenada, the Grenadines, going to St. Vincent, St. Lucia, and even for Barbados, much is not expected today. However, as we head to Martinique all the way north through to Anguilla, we can see that it's getting more colorful. So there is an area that is making its way to the west, and let's go back to the satellite imagery for a moment here. There we can see it. All that convection is being fueled by an upper level low. So low pressure areas, they typically accompany weather like this. Sometimes we see a lot of these areas of deep convection popping up. That is exactly what we're seeing. So that could actually continue drifting westward and induce some periods of heavy rainfall and even some thunderstorms across portions of the Lesser Antilles, the Leeward Islands. So talking about from maybe around Martinique going up to Dominica, Guadeloupe, and even heading to St. Kitts and Nevis, Montserrat, Saba, St. Eustatius, Antigua, Barbuda, St. Martin, St. Bartholomew, and Anguilla. Those areas could experience some periods of some heavy downpours today as the system makes its way through. And even heading over into the Virgin Islands, we see a Gada, Virgin Gorda in that yellow shading as well. So maybe not a whole lot of rain, but more rainfall than the rest of the Virgin Islands and even Puerto Rico as well. So I know many of you guys have been longing for some rainfall activity. So here is some moving through, acting as sort of a precursor to Tammy, because we know that Tammy is going to be bringing a lot more of those conditions and dangerous impacts as well for some areas. So that is underway for today. If you're going out, please don't leave your umbrella, don't leave your jackets, your cardigans. As we head to Hispaniola, the southern Bahamas, and Turks and Caicos Islands, even some spots in Cuba, Hispaniola, and Jamaica, there may be some showers and thunderstorms popping up across some areas. Not for everyone, but there could be a bit of activity in these different areas. And so let's go ahead and move on to Tammy. So here it is on these satellite imagery. We can definitely see that it is a defined tropical storm out there. And so going on to the cone forecast from the National Hurricane Center. So there we can see it. It is producing maximum sustained winds up to 40 miles per hour and moving westward at 17 miles per hour. So it's actually moving slower, because yesterday it was moving at 23 miles per hour. So now it's slowing down as it approaches the islands. And there you can see those yellow markings indicative of those watches. So more areas are under a tropical storm watch this morning for Antigua and Barbuda, Montserrat, St. Kitts, and Nevis. And if you actually watched yesterday's update, my update last evening, I did mention that these areas would eventually be under that watch and eventually maybe a warning. And so in all, everywhere under watches right now: Barbados, Dominica, Martinique, and Guadeloupe, Antigua, Barbuda, Montserrat, St. Kitts, and Nevis. All these areas could experience tropical storm conditions starting in about 48 hours. So maybe as we head to late tomorrow, going to Saturday morning, maybe around Saturday morning, those tropical storm conditions will start bearing down, or are likely to bear down, on the various islands, especially Barbados. Barbados will be in that front row for impacts. Eventually, we're likely to see these watches upgraded to warnings later today. Of course, I'll keep you posted with that. But that is what is going on with Tammy, guys. And at the time of its approach, it could be just under hurricane status. I mean, the waters are very, very warm. That can actually aid in quick intensification of the system. So I think it has the potential to actually make it to that level of sustained winds of just below hurricane status. But by Monday, we're seeing that H. That is what represents hurricane intensity there. So as it is going to be making its way out, that is when the NHC is expecting that it will make it to hurricane status. So we'll have to wait and see for that. But again, if you're under that watch, please do not take any unnecessary risks. Please have those preparations made for the system. And so as we go on to this map here, we're looking at conditions now. This is a map of all the dry air. Over in the Gulf and off the East Coast, here we see all that dry air. So that cool dry air has made it down from Canada, and across portions of the main development region, there we can see that there is a lot of dry air, even across the Atlantic on a whole, a lot of dry air out there. Now, if this or some of this should get ingested into Tammy, that is going to disrupt and actually help to induce some weakening of it. Also, if the shear decides to kick up, that is going to be a next problem for it. And the weaker the system remains, the more it is going to be heading toward the west. But those islands, as I mentioned, guys, they are under those watches. And in terms of the impacts, as we head on to rainfall activity, so there could be 3 to 6 inches of rainfall across sections of the leeward and the northern windward islands, Martinique going to Dominica. And then as we head to the US and British Virgin Islands, there could be 1 to 2 inches with isolated amounts of 4 inches, possibly for eastern Puerto Rico as well. So all of this rainfall activity expected, by the way, this is through to Saturday night. This could induce a lot of flooding. We saw what Philippe did, the flooding that occurred across some areas, Dominica, going to Guadeloupe as well. We saw the flooding that took place. We could see something a bit similar to that. Hopefully that won't be the case. Now, as we go on to the track guidance here, we can see that models are kind of solid on the system making its way in. We can see that about half or near half of them want to show the system making its way further in, closer to the vicinity of Puerto Rico and the Virgin Islands. Right there, there's that little gap in the middle, and we see that next half showing it curving out. Looks as though it will curve out, but we cannot rule out the system actually continuing further to the west. So we definitely have to keep watching for that. Again, a lot of heavy rainfall likely. Those seas will start getting choppier, especially on the Atlantic side of the islands. You guys will notice that it's getting a bit rough out there. that is when conditions will become dangerous for marine interests. So again, guys, please exercise caution, take necessary precautions, and get ready to hunker down for this system here. Now we're heading over into the Eastern Pacific. Here we have Hurricane Norma. So Norma is a major hurricane, a Cat 3, and it could strengthen even more. I wouldn't be surprised if it makes it to a strong Category 4 hurricane, not just Cat 4, but a strong Cat 4 hurricane. So we're looking at the latest cone forecast here, and we can see that the maximum sustained winds associated with Norma are up to 120 miles per hour, and it is moving to the north at 6 miles per hour. So as I said earlier, it wasn't expected to become a major hurricane until later today. But again, as I said in my update, wouldn't be surprised if it actually does so before that anticipated time, and that is exactly what Norma has done. However, it will encounter some shear, fortunately, and weaken back to a tropical storm, but there is a hurricane watch which is in effect for the Baja California Peninsula from Todos Santos to Los Barriles. So those areas could experience hurricane conditions within around 48 hours. And then other sections of northwest Mexico as well could feel those impacts from Norma as we head into the early part of next week. So here's another threat on the horizon, guys. And so, of course, I'll be keeping you posted as we head throughout the next couple of days. Stay tuned for my next update coming this evening. And so that's pretty much what I wanted to share with you. However, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll respond to you once I get a chance to do so. And remember to always be weatherwise.